I took a break from social for a few months, but now I'm back recording in horizontal and landscape at the same time, so you can watch in whichever platform you prefer, whether it's YouTube, TikTok or Twitch. The content will be the same across all of them. Today what I want to show you is a new product called the Game Gear RePCB. And you can see it's basically a remade PCB for the Game Gear. So we have here a damaged Game Gear with lots of corrosion. And what you can see is the damaged PCB. So see all the damage here and the rot. This isn't going to work well. We're going to take the chips off this and transplant them to this brand new circuit board. So why would you want to use this board? It's really when your boards are too damaged, like this one, that there's physical trace damage all over the board, meaning you're going to spend a lot more time and energy getting this working than swapping it out. So let's just start with this main board. We need to hot air these chips off. So we'll go ahead and we have this here. So this is the Z80. Now I have new ones of these, so we're going to start to just sell new ones. So in this instance, even though we could hot air this off, I'm just going to leave this and use the new one. We have the crystal that we'll take off, but again, I've got tons of spares, so I'm just going to use this one for the moment. And that leaves us with these two chips. We have to then install the two chips here, the Z80 over here, and the crystal here, and remove these two chips. So let's get started with that. The first thing we're going to do is pre-tin all these pads. So we're going to go and get a soldering iron, some flux, and we're going to go over these pads. And then with the flux, we're just going to run down with some fresh solder, and you'll see this will tin up nicely, and you shouldn't get any joins when you're doing this. As soon as we're done, we want to take some IPA and wipe off the flux so that it doesn't leave a mark. And then we'll move on to the next one. So we'll go ahead and flux the CPU and VDP pads. The CPU pad is the one with the closest pins. So you might find that you get the odd bridge. But what I tend to do is carry on using the solder you've got on your iron, go around the VDP until it starts using up all of the solder that you have, and then go back to wherever the joins are on the CPU, and you can see it pulls them right off. Once that's done, again, get a sponge, wipe off to clean all that up, and there's everything nice and clean. We're done with the solder for now. What I'm going to do, just so I don't forget as well, is remove these two little resistors here. So I've got my own crystals made. They're just about ready, but they weren't ready in time for production. When they do come like that, you won't need the crystal. We'll just have the crystal pre-installed here and these chips. But if we want to use an original, we have to wipe out these two resistors. So just flood it with solder and wipe out the resistors. So now the next step is we want to hot air the chips off this board onto here. So we'll start with the Z80 and we'll pretend that we've just hot aired it off this board. We'll see how to do that with the other chips. I'm just going to then get my existing chip here. We're going to apply some fresh flux like so. And then we're going to get the hot air. I've got mine set to 470 and 80% airspeed. We'll grab tweezers. And this is all about the timing being exactly right. So what you want to do is roughly position the chip. It's not crucial at all. So position it roughly like this. You want to go here, which if we just swap to the side view for a moment, you can see I'm about probably 2 inches above here. And we want to go around for 1 minute above at 2 inches. And then you can see at roughly the minute mark, things are starting to bubble. Now we go right close as you want to the chip. And we'll do this now for 10 seconds on the Z80. We can nudge it into position because it was out of position. So we just nudge this freely now. You can see it naturally snaps into position. Push down for the last 5 seconds and go around the pins. And then once we're done, we come off with the hot air. And again, remember this is all about crucial and exact timings. We wait for 10 seconds on this one. Then after 10 seconds we can let go. We do that because we want these pins to all solidify first. Now we take a sponge with some IPA on And again, clean over while it's still hot, because it cleans a lot easier when the board is hot than once it cools down. And then with that, we have the pins all nice and perfect, and we shouldn't need to use a soldering iron. If you have a microscope, you can look under the microscope at this to confirm everything is soldered perfectly. We're going to repeat this for these two chips. So the process is exactly the same, it's just we have 20 seconds more when we go low down. So instead of being for 10 seconds, it's for 30 seconds on these. You don't need to flux these, so you can flux them. The only time I'd flux these is it will naturally kind of reflow the pins on the chips and make them a little bit cleaner. But if you don't want to waste flux, you don't need to do this. So we'll just put it on this time, just so we get the cleanest of connections. We will also, because we want to transfer it over when we're done, we'll pre-flux just the CPU. If we do the VDP as well, what we're going to do is, as we're soldering the CPU, all the flux on the VDP runs off. So same principle again. If you've got the cartridge connector on like this, you can use that as the perfect height gauge for your hot air. So you can see as we go around, this hot air is perfectly in line with the height of this cartridge connector. We'll now go around for 1 minute from this distance, and then 30 seconds close up. You can get away with 20 seconds, but 30 seconds doesn't harm. And now the goal here is we go nice and close, and we go around for 20 seconds. You do not want to lift this chip before then, because you're going to bend and distort the pins. Once the timing's up, you'll see it's perfectly loose. We can transfer it over, move this board out of the way, move this board in, roughly position like so, so really rough. And we're going to go over here again with a minute from 2 inches, and then we're going to go close for 20 seconds. And you kind of know when you're at the minute mark, if you're not timing it, by the fact that things start to look like they're bubbling. So that gives you a hint that things are ready. You then go close, and after about 10 seconds we can probably nudge this into position, and I'll just need to look closely to make sure. Oh, it's already pulled into position naturally, so we don't even need to align it. And then we'll push down now firmly and reflow for the last 10 seconds. And this is, again, you won't need any soldering iron for this job if we do it correctly. And now stay pushed down again for 20 seconds, not for 10. And this should solidify within those 20 seconds, and then we can wipe it with the sponge. So that's solidified. Now we will wipe all of the flux off. We can wipe under as well, just to keep everywhere clean. And that should be a nice, clean CPU. So you can see all the pins are really nice, clean, and no shorts. Now I'm just going to repeat that for this chip. And then as this one cools, I can actually see that this top left pin is already bent on this VDP. So whether I did that when I was picking it up, or whether it was already on this board, I'm not sure. But I'll just straighten that up in a second as well. I'm just going to get this cleaned first. While I'm here, I'm just going to inspect all the pins, because I have the benefit of having a microscope, so it's a little bit easier than using my eyes. And all of those are perfect to me. There's no issues on there whatsoever. So we'll do one last cleanup. I'm just going to get the IPA spray under, and one thing I always forget, if you put a tissue underneath or a fabric underneath, like these bamboo cloths, before you do it, then your mat doesn't get soaked in with flux that is sometimes harder to clean up. We can see we have both of the chips on here. We just need to put the crystal on now. We've already removed those two resistors. So what we want to do is place the new crystal through these two holes, but instead of letting it sit straight down like this, you don't want that touching the capacitors, so you tilt it slightly like that, just so it's out the way of making any damage. Now I tend to just let it rest like this, so it naturally tilts forward, and get your iron underneath and gently solder the pin. And if done right, that's now soldered in, and we can flip and do the other pad easier. With that done, again, keep clean. We want these whiteboards staying nice and white. And that is everything we should now need to actually test this board. So what will we need for testing? We have the old Game Gear that we still want to rob the extension port off, but we'll do that after. That's not critical now for testing. This new board only works with clean screen officially, so it's really ideal for Game Gears, again, that are that damaged you need a new screen. So I've got a test clean screen here, and the kit comes with the power and audio ribbons we haven't connected yet because we don't need to. And again, I want to make sure this is working. We have no idea whether this Game Gear was working or not in the first place. So we'll connect the clean screen up here and here. And then before we actually connect this up, we like to power it and listen for just audio in case this interferes with boot as well. Even though I know it's working, it might fail at any point. So for the connector, what you want to use is this game slot. So we sell these. It's a brand new cartridge slot I've designed. And you can see there's brand new pins in here. And we will release the top board that you can just unscrew and replace for future maintenance, or you can just buy another game slot. But it's basically the best way to have a solder-free and brand new connector, because that's another thing that really fails on these is the connectors here. These all have dirt inside and they fail over time. So we'll connect up the game slot. And what you want to make sure of as well is that the pins on the game slot actually face upwards, so you see the gold, not so you see the black, which is typical for most connectors. You normally have the plastic side facing up. On the game slot, it's the opposite, the face, so you can see the gold contact. Clip the bails in. We have a known working game, Sonic 2. You can plug headphones in here, or I'm going to use a powered speaker. Plug this in. We don't need an audio board. We don't need a power board. We can now even power this from a normal USB cable. So I'm just going to get a standard USB-A cable. This will do. It'll be powered from absolutely any USB-C or A device. And then what we're listening for is when we plug in, we might have to click reset once, but we're going to listen for Sonic loading. And there we go, first time. With that working, what we'll do now is move Sonic out of the way, connect up the clean screen, as we mentioned. So now we know the system boots and sounds normal. We can connect up the clean screen. Connect that bail down. And now the moment of truth, ignoring this very dirty developer screen, which I might just give a quick clean. You can tell this is my test screen by how absolutely filthy it is from fingers and flux. But let's at least clean it up a little bit. I always keep one on the side for testing so that we don't have to mess up screens every time we want to build one. So good enough. Now if we connect up the USB cable again, we should hopefully see, there we go, Sega on screen. Now we can adjust the brightness up and down with the contrast wheel at the side. This is obviously very loud, so I'll put my finger over it. But there is a fully working Game Gear. And instead of having a completely dead Game Gear that we probably couldn't salvage because of the amount of damage on the board, and we certainly wouldn't want to sell these to customers, we now have a fully working brand new PCB with the original Game Gear chips here. While I'm on here, I can use the clean screens buttons, so we can actually tap the test start, right and left. So you can see here I can pause. We'll be able to move left, and we'll be able to jump with the, what right is actually button 2. But it's called left and right because the clean screen moves the menu. So there is a fully working RePCB. We have a reset button down here, so we can tap that to also reset the console whenever we like. And then obviously we have adjustable brightness for up and down. And the final steps to this are to install the brand new connectors here. Use your power and audio board of choice, such as a Clean Juice or a Clean Amp. And if you're interested, it's not critical because 90% of games and people don't use it, but this extension port you can rob off here and connect back up here. So I hope you enjoyed the first of this new format of videos. As we get used to it and we position the camera right and we get a feel for how this is going to work in both vertical and horizontal, we should have a really nice new format. Let me know what you guys think of this new video format, and hopefully I'll start doing live streaming soon as well, so you can be interactive on these kind of videos and repairs. That's it for this one, guys. I'll catch you in the next.